what are we doing and how can we do it better? Those are the things we should be talking about, not just really stoking these fires of anger and hatred and division, because that's all that's happening right now. And it really offends me. It offends me in such a great way because I have two children that are trying to find their identity in this world, and they see it stacked against them.
My name is Linda Lorelle, and I'm asking you to have the courage to listen with an open mind to all of our voices, because our voices matter. Hey everybody, it's Linda Lorelle. Welcome to a very special episode of Our Voices Matter podcast. So when I was a little girl growing up on the south side of Chicago, I first laced up a pair of figure skates when I was 4 years old. And I spent a great deal of my childhood on the ice and watching some of the best figure skaters as they did their thing around the world at the Olympics and World Figure Skating Championships, etc. Well, today I get to interview one of the icons of that world, Scott Hamilton. Scott Hamilton has won 70 titles, awards, and honors, including an Emmy nomination, induction into the United States Olympic Hall of Fame, thanks to that 1984 gold medal that he won in Sarajevo. And he's also a privileged member of the World Figure Skating Hall of Fame. He's also a best-selling author. He's a dad. He is a wonderful husband. He is the founder of the CARES Foundation. He's a cancer survivor. And he is now about to embark upon a new venture, the Scott Hamilton CARES Foundation Encourage X Collection. Scott is all about encouraging his fellow human beings and living each day to its absolute fullest. I cannot wait to share this conversation with you. Enjoy. Scott Hamilton, what a pleasure and joy to see you and have an opportunity to talk to you. How are you?
I am actually great. It's a decision, right?
Yes, it is.
It's a choice. We can,
especially in these days.
Oh man, we can get crushed in so many different ways, but the swing thought every day, right? The swing thought is that thought just before you try to hit the ball. The swing thought every day is how do I make this a great day? And sometimes you just gotta rise above.
Yes, I hear you.
But in general, I've been blessed beyond my wildest dreams, expectations. I never would have thought to dream the life that I've been given, and had to participate in that, obviously. But it's just like I'm blessed, and I recognize that on a consistent basis.
Let's talk about that dream life that you've been given, because it didn't start out as a dream life per se, right? I mean, we all know you because of your incredible accomplishments as a gold medal winning figure skater and a 4-time U.S. national champion figure skater, and all of the great things that you've done since then. But it wasn't easy for you when you were growing up. So tell me a little bit about your backstory.
Well, I mean, it all comes down to kind of that idea that if you were to do your timeline and you see what the ups and downs were, the negatives and the positives, I always kind of felt like I was, there was always some sort of curse, right? Because a lot of really tough things happened, and it would usually something good would happen and then something horrible would be on the other side of it, So, it's like, I was adopted at 6 weeks of age, amazing family. My mom was just this little 4x4 and just the center of my universe. And I loved her so much. Right. And my dad was this very strict, he was ROTC in college, and he was a professor, PhD in biology, and no one was going to take his class for the grade, and we were going to accomplish, and we're going to, he was very focused and really driven. And I scored, man. I love my parents, and they were amazing parents and good people. And then I got sick, I stopped growing, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And so I call it my first tour. For 4 years in 4 different hospitals, I had test after test after test, and they were trying to figure out why I wasn't growing, why I wasn't developing, why I was so sickly, why Why? And they could never come to, they would kind of almost sort of gravitate towards a misdiagnosis. And then they're like, no, that didn't pan out. And I finally had every symptom of a celiac kind of disease called Schwachmann-Diamond syndrome. And so I was fortunate to be able to be seen by Dr. Schwachmann himself. And he put me through every test you could imagine. And again, this is 4 years of a lot of stress for my family. And they were school teachers, so they didn't have a lot of means to be able to do all these things, right? And so at the end of my time with him, he just said, he has every symptom, but he does not have Schwachmann-Diamond syndrome. So here's the best advice I can give you. Since you've been doing this for 4 years and we have no answers, go home, live a normal life, and just see what happens next. And so we went home and they took me out.
How old were you at this point?
I was about to turn 9 years old. So went home. I was able to have flour, sugar, dairy. So birthday parties started to become fun again. Instead of I can't eat that. And I just stepped into next, and it was going to school every day. And my parents, though, were pretty shattered and exhausted. So our family physician just told them they needed a morning off. And they said, how are we going to do that? We've got these 3 kids, and, my brother was adopted 4 years after me. And so it was right when my brother was adopted, I started having all these health issues. And so they just said, my doctor said, well, my daughter's just started this program at the brand new facility at the university that I know you know about, where they teach kids how to skate from 8 in the morning until noon. And why does he just go with my kids and he'd be supervised and safe and everything else? So I went to the rink and I was very sick. I had a nose tube coming out because they fed me a supplement that I refused to drink. So the compromise was a nose tube up my nose and down my esophagus and into my belly. And so I walk into the rink and all the kids kind of go, what's wrong with you?
Ew.
Yeah. So I knew I was different. I knew I was weaker, lesser. I just, I was the shortest kid in my grade and all this stuff. So I always kind of felt inferior. And it was, probably a few weeks into the skating program that I realized I could skate as well kids. And then
even with the tube up your nose, right?
Yeah,
even with the tube up your nose.
Even with the tube up my nose. But it was like one of those things where it was that first taste of self-esteem. And then a few weeks later, I realized that I could skate as well as the best athletes in my grade. And then I felt like, wow, there's a superpower here. And I need to really pay attention to this. So I just started, skating, and I started, taking it more seriously, and I was taking private lessons, and then I got into, being a full-time figure skater. And then the teasing that came from being in a very small town and being a male figure skater was, sort of significant. And so I ended up insisting that I play hockey just to kind of shut them up, because I knew I could skate better than all of them. It was just coming down to
you could skate circles around them.
What kind of blade am I on, right? That's the only difference. And so I played hockey for 3 seasons or 2 neck braces, depending on your perspective, and then just stepped away because I was figure skating and playing hockey at the same time. So I lived at the rink, and I started growing again. I started developing muscle. I started digesting food properly, and
it just sort of happened. And all of this, during this whole time, as you're developing your figure skating, you still didn't know what the issue had been earlier in your life.
No, it was never really diagnosed. Later, we have a really strong clue and indicator of what was going on, but life was kind of that roller coaster. I think if something really good happens, then something bad's going to come on the other side. And so I started skating, but the problem was, I really wasn't very good. I do okay. Like I do well regionally. So in figure skating, the US is cut up into 3 sections, and each of those sections has 3 regions. So regionally, I was lights out. I was great, because there's not that many boys in figure skating. So if you're a girl in figure skating and you medal, you're very good. But if you're a boy in figure skating and you don't medal, you're not very good. So it's kind of that reality, right? So regionally, lights out. Sectionally, nationally, disaster. And I didn't like doing figures. So it was one of those things where since I didn't like it, it didn't like me back. It's kind
So
of
what was the
putting that out
turning
there.
point? What was the turning point for you? So where you went from not being so good to world class?
I grew up a little bit. And then it was right after my first year on the junior level that I came in 7th out of 9 at nationals. I actually beat 2 guys for the first time ever. My mom came home from a doctor's visit, and with a big smile on her face, she told us all that she'd just been diagnosed with a disease called cancer. And so, so that year, she basically said, we're broke. I'm sick. We have to make some changes. And she said, we're going to get you through your last year in skating because you're going to graduate high school this year. We can send you to college next year because we're both professors at the university. We can afford free. So this will be your last year in skating, make it count. And so I went back to my training place in Illinois, and my coach had retired, and a new coach came in who was a real whip cracker. I mean, this guy was just like tough, really tough. And I said, what do I got to lose? I might as well submit, So my training took on a different intensity that year. And for whatever reason, I went to the nationals. My mom arrived, and she'd had her left breast removed and most of the inside of her left arm. And she was wearing a wig because she lost all her hair to chemo. And she just had a smile on her face the whole week. And it's like, are you okay? And she says, I'm great. And it's like, is it they have drugs or something? Because it's just like, So she said, you skate, we'll figure it out later on. And so for whatever reason, maybe it was because I actually trained for the first time, I won junior nationals. And because the trajectory of winning out of like 9th at nationals, 7th at nationals, winning nationals, coach who that year was coaching this relatively unknown girl named Dorothy Hamill to an Olympic gold medal, had a sponsor in his hip pocket and gave me a second life in skating. And so, wow, and so now I turn 18, graduate high school. I'm sponsored. I get my own apartment. It's the trifecta, right? Where you're 18, apartment, sponsor. It didn't go well. I didn't have the maturity.
Little too much freedom there, huh?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I was just not ready for that. And so I went to that nationals, and I came in 9th again, back to 9th, right? 9th was my number. And it was right after that competition that as soon as I was done with competition, I'd go home and I'd spend time with my family. And so I went back home because my mom's cancer had taken a turn for the worse. And I remember I was in her room till about 3:00 in the morning in the hospital, and she wasn't conscious or anything. So it wasn't any interaction. And then I went home, and because we had a lot of people supporting us, I was sleeping on the couch in the family room. And my brother-in-law came in and just said, your mother is gone. And all I could think to say was, I know. That was it. So I went for a walk in the backyard, and it was there that things changed forever, because I realized that I couldn't grieve her any other way than to take her with me to the ice every single time and try to be that person she always thought I could be, or always thought I was, that I didn't see. Right. So I just turned it up like 12 notches. I would, if I was running a little bit late, it's like, oh, I'm going to be late. It's like, no, you're not. You're going to honor her. So I would show up on time. If I didn't feel like doing a long program run through, I would just say honor her, and I would do the run through and full intensity. And again, from just that decision to honor my mom, and every time I took the ice, everything changed. I went from being 9th in the U.S. to 3rd in the U.S. and 11th in the world just a few months later. And then 2 years later, I'm on the Olympic team where I came in 5th. And then for the next 4 years, between 1980 and 1984, I went undefeated. And it was just in that one decision, just to take my mom with me every single time I took the ice, and to try to, again, aspire to be the person she always saw in me that I didn't see in myself. So, life changed forever. I remember Doug Wilson from ABC. He was one of the original directors in the wide world of sports. I went back after the medal ceremony, just, to, kind of interact with him and show him the medal and everything else. And he just said, oh, by the way, from this moment forward, your life is forever changed. And I went, oh, okay. I had no idea. And I went back home and life was a bit different, let's just say. And now there was opportunity. I was flat broke. I was living in one of my best friend's parents' basements. I was being looked after, kind of all those years. And now it was time for me to step out on my own. And so I knew I needed to turn pro. And I just decided I was going to approach my professional career with the same intensity and integrity that I approached my amateur career, which was unusual back then, because a lot of times people would go through their Olympic time and then they turn professional and things would just sort of unravel, it was a different lifestyle. It was a different training. It was a different preparation. It was a different day to day. And I decided that I wanted to embrace it. I had 3 role models back then. And they weren't skaters. I pay attention to things. I love the way Neil Diamond took the stage, because it was joy, right? Pure joy. And it was infectious. And that's why every one of his shows was sold out. I want to be like that. And then there was Bruce Springsteen was number 2. And it was like, he was blue collar, just built his audience one night at a time, was going to work and going to earn that right to perform in front of that person again. That person can't wait to come back. I wanted to be that guy. And then there was this other guy that I just always admired. It was Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. When he went solo, when he left when the band kind of broke up, he really took a lot of chances and risks, and he allowed himself to artistically grow in ways that a lot of people didn't expect. He was very unpredictable. And I said, I want to be like that too. And so all those things sort of combined to allow me to and show joy every time I'm on the ice, and to work really super hard and try to build an audience. And then to really be brave and taking risks. I didn't want next year to be a rehash of this year. I wanted it to be something adventurous and bold. And
kind of like that backflip that you're known for.
Yeah, that came out. I did that as a pro.
Did that come out of that period?
Yeah. And it was one of those things where there was a couple guys I was in Ice Capades then, and it was a couple guys in the show doing it. And I would pay attention. I was like, wow, every time they do that, like it gets an eruption from the audience. Okay, I got to get me one of those, because I want that same reaction. And I remember I worked on it for a whole year. I'm in Salt Lake at Ice Capades. It was the very beginning of the tour, end of the summer. And I went out, and my adrenaline was just pumping, because I'd never really done it like under lights on my own to music and everything. And so I went out and I threw this thing, and it was probably to this day the biggest one I've ever done. It floated. Really? And I came down, I could have landed on like butterfly wings, and it was just like one of those soft landings. And the place absolutely went nuts, bonkers. And it was like, okay, I'm totally hooked. I'm never leaving the house without one of these bad boys.
So I have to tell you, I'm just such a fan. I mean, I grew up figure skating. And so for me to have this conversation with you, you just have no idea how I'm like pinching myself right now. But that move, I mean, I've seen you do it so many times, and I get chills thinking about it, because you just, everything, all the people that you just said that you admired, and you want, that work ethic, and you wanted to come out and take the audience by storm. And you did that, Scott. I mean, that is who you are. So you by far exceeded all of that. And oh my gosh, I just had to say that. I'm fangirling now, but
I mean, I really thought, because there was no pathway for a male figure skater, except to be either, like, as they call it, HAP, sort of a half-assed principal, or, sort of a soloist in the show. There wasn't really any way I could never be Dorothy Hamill. I could never be at that level. And so I just decided that I really wanted to be, and I was going to work towards it. And I thought if I could get 2 to 4 years out of a professional career, then maybe I was fooling a few people, but I was committed to the long haul. And so it got to a point where I'm on the ice. I just gotten married and had we had our first son, and he was about 6 months old. I'm on the ice in New York, and I'm like, what am I doing here? And this was 20 years after I turned pro, and I'm still skating in arenas. It's kind of like, okay, it's time to, it's not about me anymore. It's about my son and my family. So I'm going to step away and just go into the next. And it was easy and it was difficult because it's an identity shift, right? And I knew that in my spirit that, I'd gotten way more. As I said earlier, it's like I never would have thought to dream any of it. And it all just sort of happened. And it all happened because of, just showing up every day with that hunger and that, I was talking to Nathan Chen, he's the greatest skater in the world right now. Gosh, and it's like, incredible. As long as we can stay humble and hungry, we're going to be okay. Right. But if we feel entitled, or if we feel the tour or the world or the whatever, the ice owes us something, then we're probably not going to last very long. And it's like humble and hungry is the best way to approach everything. And if you can do that, then you're really okay with whatever comes of your effort. And then you can look at things with an open hand instead of a clenched fist, which is another philosophy that I try to live by.
So, wow. So many lessons that I'm sure you have learned and have taken away from your journey to this point. And now that you're a dad with 4 amazing children, what are the lessons that you most want them to get from what you have experienced? What are you telling them now?
It's kind of the whole idea that, excuse me, that we're the only one of us ever to grace this planet, right? So our identity is unique. Our abilities, our personalities, whoever we are as human beings, we're the only one that has ever been of us. And in that, we have an identity that is unique and can be leveraged in different ways. And so, I always try to be open to, there are certain things that are must-haves, and that is, behaviors and certain things that we know are recipes for, faith and everything else that gives us what we need to endure and to survive, this world. But that we have to be open and attentive, to whatever we can do with our individual identities and how we can leverage that into a place in this world. So, my 17-year-old, my oldest birth son, wants to go into the Army. Wouldn't be my first choice, but it's been on his heart, and he's working hard towards that goal of being prepared 100% to be the best soldier that has ever been, right? And my oldest son is, he's got such life energy and spirit. He's just trying to figure out how he fits into all of this. He's from another country, and it's just all the mess.
He's from Haiti, right?
Yes. And he's a beautiful kid, and just a smile that lights up the room. And he's just, he's got a really beautiful heart. It's just, again, when you're taking in all these messages, it's really, kind of hard to kind of push all that away and just focus on where you want to go in your life. So we're working through that, with him, and I couldn't love him more. And my daughter, same. When she came from Haiti, she spoke maybe 10 words of English, and she's just, really worked it out. She's doing incredibly well in school. Again, from 10 words in English to being, an honor student is quite the feat. And so she's doing well. And then my little guy, he's got a big personality, and he's, he works hard and everything he does. And, he's got his own dreams and goals and aspirations. So you just try to nurture that without micromanaging, but also keeping them in their lane as best you can. And, just see what the Lord has in store for them.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk about the conversations that you're having as a family. And I said 4 kids. It's 3 kids. Yes?
It's 4. Yeah.
It is 4. Okay.
My 2 birth children and my 2 adopted children.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're living in a very, unique, difficult, challenging time right now as a country and really as a world. As we're doing this interview now, we are 3 days after the Derek Chauvin conviction for the murder of George Floyd. You have a mixed race family with two adopted children who are Black. What kinds of conversations are you having in your family right now? What are you telling them?
It's kind of all over the map. Some of it's reactive, some of it's proactive. I got really upset yesterday. I'm listening to the radio and I'm seeing all these things, and it just, a friend of mine wrote a book years ago called Kill the Spider. And he was dealing with a lot of cobwebs, right? He just said, I just feel like I'm walking through cobwebs all the time and I'm having to shoo them away. And it's just constant, like all this stuff. And so he went to this place called Onsite in Tennessee. It's a really wonderful mental health. It's not like he was like mentally ill. It was just like, we all deserve to be at our optimum, emotionally. And so he went there to kind of clear away the cobwebs, and he called his dad and he said, I'm going into this place. Just want you to know. And he goes, can I give you some advice? And he said, yeah. And he goes, kill a spider. Right. So we've lived in a society and a culture, and we look back on 50 years ago, the civil rights movement really kicked in, and some really incredible things were done, and Martin Luther King and all these great things that were creating pathways to reconciliation and everything else. And I watch all of these elected officials, talking about division and all these things. They're weaponizing all this, and they're not addressing it. This is happening on their watch, and they're there to make a difference in our culture and our society, and they're not doing a thing except stoking the fire. They're manipulating and using people for their own gain. They haven't done a thing, in my mind, for the African American community. Nothing. They haven't created opportunity. They haven't. It's just one of those things that when you take a step back and you really look at what's been done in order to improve schools and improve communities and really allow people this pathway towards the American dream, I don't think it's been done. And so, there's so many people that live generationally in hopelessness, and they just don't see a way out. And there is one. And it's like, well, who am I to say that? I'm just this white guy, right? And I'm kind of like right now the scourge of society, because if you watch the news, like I'm the descriptor of the worst person on the planet. But I see things maybe differently than other people, and I really feel like there's opportunity out there, but there is a segment of our society that has never been really truly given those same considerations. And you can look back historically on laws and on different things that have created a welfare state, or just the quality of schools in low-income neighborhoods. And it's meant to perpetuate the misery. What are we doing, and how can we do it better? Those are the things we should be talking about, not just really stoking these fires of anger and hatred and division, because that's all that's happening right now. And it really offends me. It offends me in such a great way, because I have two children that are trying to find their identity in this world, and they see it stacked against them. They do. They have to. And our conversations are, more about, let's live in faith. Let's work hard. You've got this incredible nest where you can really just learn how to fly. And we're going to do everything we can to promote that. But I don't see that in our culture and in our leadership. I don't. Like I saw hope in the last 4 years where, people were being let out of prison, and there were opportunity zones, and there were all these different things that were going to be able to allow people to get those small business loans to kind of lift themselves up and give it, and then I don't see it now. And I'm just worried. I'm worried about, just this whole country burning down over something that we can do this together. We can really work together to create a better future for everyone. And we spend so much time looking at the wrapping instead of the gift inside, and to me, it's like, I grew up, my family was really, my dad was in charge of international studies at Bowling Green University. And I learned how to speak Swahili at 3 years of age. Okay. It was insane. And I never saw, I never saw people as better or worse. I just saw them as people. I just saw them as, you look different than me. Who cares? Like I look different than you. Who cares? And so to see where we've become and how far this has gone, I just get really upset. And I don't get upset and angry about a lot of things, but this really offended me yesterday when I just keep seeing and hearing all these sound bites of just, no, you need to be angry, and you need to be, and this, and it's like, no, we can do better than this. We have to expect and demand better than this.
Yeah. And you, as a white man, saying what you just said is a big part of the answer to bringing us closer together. I understand. I get what you meant when you said that right now you are the epitome of the scourge, the white man in America. Okay, but you're not. You, Scott Hamilton, are not. And any other white person who looks at humanity and not at the color of someone's skin, they get it, right? So you, my friend, are most definitely not the scourge of humanity. We need more people like you to speak out and speak the truth. And so I thank you for that. And your children, all 4 of them, are so incredibly lucky to have you as a role model and as a dad, because you are living, you are living and breathing what you're walking the talk. That's it. You're walking the talk.
I have to do more. It's like I'm in a season right now where I feel like, due to, kind of all my ups and downs, that I have the ability, to address certain things, and a lot of it is, where we are today, whether it's me being hooked up to a chemo line, or me being, shoved into a radiation machine, or, I have the experience to be able to talk about certain things and try to encourage people that, again, where we are today doesn't necessarily ensure that that's where we're going to be tomorrow. Again, going back to my whole blessing, for every blessing, there was a curse, right? It wasn't until cancer that I realized that I had it all wrong. I was an unwanted, unintended child that was brought into the world. Right? And then you look at the fact that, I was unwanted, but I was adopted. And then I got sick and I got found skating, and then I lost and I figured out a way to win. So it wasn't for every blessing there was a curse. It was for every little bit of a curse there was this incredible promise of a blessing. And in that, I feel like this season is about encouraging people. It's about telling people that you can work through your problems, you can rise up above your circumstance, you can do all kinds of things, but it starts here and here, and you can, there's so much out there. There's so much to do and to accomplish, and whether it's big or small, it doesn't matter. It's just our identity is our identity, and our purpose is our purpose. And we have to be true to that. And I just, we just started a relationship with Encourage X. It's a wonderful digital platform. I was just
going to say, you're bringing up the whole really concept of encouragement. So tell the audience what you are planning to do with your platform on Encourage X, and why this is so important to you.
Well, I think, everybody's looking for it's, just a crack of light. Just give me something. I'm living in all this, and I just need that little gust of wind. I just need that little light. I need that thing. And it's really been wild. Last year during COVID, I was doing all these different things. I got invited to one thing with the CMO club, and I got another invite, and then another invite, and out of that, these relationships formed. Encourage X is just, it's such a natural extension of everything I'm doing with my CARES Foundation, with cancer. And a lot of people, especially that are facing a battle like that, really need to kind of give me something that I can just sort of hang on to, and a lot of it is just kind of the wisdom that comes from having been there, done that, right? And so perspective.
So just to back up for just a second, so that the audience knows, for those who don't, that you started the CARES Foundation after your own battle with cancer. Mm-hmm. So give a little bit of that backstory, and then we'll move forward into how you're using the foundation now.
CARES came out of my own experience, right? So when I was diagnosed, I didn't really know what testicular cancer was. So I went on the internet, and there was nothing but medical journal papers, sometimes, 12 syllable words, 3 to a sentence. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm too dumb to be sick. That's not fair, and then, I didn't really, I go, how sick am I going to be with chemo? And my doctor said, moderate to severe. And I said, what is moderate to severe? And he said, moderate to severe. And so I go, he's never had it, right? So he can't tell me either. And so I realized there was some missing huge gaps in the cancer community that needed to be addressed. So I get through my cancer. I wanted to quit at round 3 of 4 because I was just different. I was swollen. I didn't have a hair on my body. I was just like, I couldn't touch my toes. I was diagnosed 50 cities into a 60 city tour. Okay. So I was like on fire at that point in my life and career. And now my world had completely changed. Right. So I wanted to quit. And a dear friend said, well, how many rounds do you have left? I go, 1, I can do that. Duh. And then, surgery and the 38 staple surgery and all that. And I just needed to understand and prepare myself for what I was about to endure. And there was no one around to help me do that, except people that had witnessed it, not people that had been through it. So I realized, okay, we got a big problem. And when my mom died of cancer, for that 20-year period before I was diagnosed, I would raise money for cancer research. I figured I got to be a part of the solution. If I could figure out a way to cure my mom's cancer, I would know why I was born, right? Because none of it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so with CARES, we just decided we're going to come up with, CARES stands for the Cancer Alliance for Research, Education, and Survivorship. So we didn't want to be like one bucket. We wanted to really look after filling the gaps in the cancer community. And so we launched chemocare.com, which is everything you need to know about chemotherapy, how it's administered, the drugs themselves, and side effects, all in 8th grade English and Spanish with Google Translate, any language in the world. Figured if we did 3 million hits a year, we won the lottery. We're doing well over 3 million hits a month. And it's just incredible. And that's old data. It's probably much more than that now, but it's crushing it. Yeah. Chemocare.com is giving patients exactly what they need in order to understand what they're about to endure.
To fill in the blanks between moderate to severe, right?
Right. Yeah. So now we know, here are the side effects and here's how you can manage them. So it's, when I started CARES, they did a survey, the Oncology Nursing Society did a survey for newly diagnosed patients. And one of the questions was, what's your greatest fear? And 30% of the patients said, my greatest fear is death. 42% said their greatest fear was treatment. So that's an eyebrow raiser, right? So then you got to think and say, okay, so whoever the publicist is for chemo, we need to kind of counteract that. And so we did that with chemocare.com. The other part of it is, moderate to severe. How do we help patients get the information they desperately need? So I realized, and it was the night that we were announcing CARES as an organization, I looked at my urologist, Dr. Klein. I go, what do you think of this? And he goes, what? I go, what do you think of the name Fourth Angel? And he said, sounds kind of interesting. What is it? And I go, well, when you're going through cancer, your first angel is your oncologist. Your second angel is your oncology nurse. Your third angel is your friends and family. what was missing was that fourth angel. And the fourth angel is someone who's been there, done that, and can walk with you through that experience. And so we created a mentorship program, which pairs newly diagnosed patients with survivors of the same disease and treatment style, right? And it took a while to get it going because, people were saying, even the American Cancer Society was saying, the fourth angel should not be around because, and now they're fine with it. But in the beginning, there was that fear of change, right? Patients shouldn't be giving other patients medical advice. Well, it's not that at all. It's life wisdom.
Yeah.
Here's what I did when I got scared. Here's what I learned on chemo days, how to best control my diet. Here's what, if like when I really didn't know how to talk to anyone, here's what I learned. Here's some books and some resources that I've found. Here's a way to talk to your children about your, here's, and it's wisdom, right? It's not medical advice. It's life encouragement. It's role modeling. It's all the stuff that we need as human beings in our lives. And so fourth angel just went like that. I mean, it's almost unmanageable. And right now, how many mentors we have in the program. And then the other side was research. And so, it's all about research. But in the meantime, let's empower people to be able to really, with knowledge and confidence and support, get through a really difficult period of our lives. And so that's, basically my relationship with Encourage X is sort of an extension of like a fourth angel mentoring type of program where if people really need that little puff of wind in their sails just to get through that day, they can get it through Encourage X, and they can, it's really a phenomenal program. It's just sort of a brainchild of a man named James Brown, and he's just brilliant, and he leads with his heart and his incredible mind. And it's just fun to be partnered with him. And that came out of this COVID, right? It came out of this crazy, like accidental thing. And it's like, so I'm in that season. I want to encourage people.
So you are going to have an Encourage X collection. I have an Encourage X collection as well. Oh, and basically what this means is that people can literally go to your collection and get some specific language and tools to encourage people in their lives who are on a cancer journey. Yes?
Yes. And it's really, there's so many quotes, that are always, I remember when I was at the Olympics in 1980, Eric Hayden said something. I don't know if it was his quote or if he found it somebody else, but they were all wondering why he wasn't leveraging his 5 gold medals to just blow up and go into the marketplace. He said, I'm going to do one endorsement, and I wanted that endorsement to be enough money to get me through medical school. That was it. And he didn't want the tail to wag the dog, right? So he said, look, it's not the events in your life that define you or your character. It's how you respond to them. And I've never, ever forgotten that, because it's good and bad. I meet cancer patients daily who are more alive and powerful than they've ever been. And I meet people that have achieved great fame and fortune, won the lottery, basically, who are absolutely miserable in their lives, are just an absolute train wreck. And it's like, which one do I want to be? And it's kind of in that whole idea of blessings and curses. I saw a little girl at a cancer survivor celebration one time. She was a student athlete in high school, and she lost her leg to cancer. And she said, the worst thing that's ever happened to me is cancer. But I'm here to tell you the best thing that ever happened to me was cancer. And it changed my world. That's what flipped the blessing and curse thing for me, because it was like, wow, yes, my life now because of cancer is so much different than it would have been had I not ever had it. And it was, I wouldn't have my wife had I not had cancer. I wouldn't have my children if I didn't have cancer. And all of those little forks in the road that we get to, they really define our lives. And in that fork in the road, I decided that my life would be better if I just took some time to just allow the dust to settle. And then I approached it anew, like I was given a second chance at life. And in that second chance, everything that is happening today came out of that, with the CARES Foundation. That's, but, again, going back to the most important thing is my wife and my family. Like, like all men, I way overachieved. My wife is definitely, like,
are you saying you married above your station?
We all do, but I certainly did. Right. So, she's taught me so much and she's given me so much, and daily, I'm astounded by her perspective and intellect and faith. And when I was going through the third brain tumor, she did an interview with this thing. Anyway, she did this interview, and I'm kind of like around the corner listening because I wanted to know how she'd do it in an interview situation. She's very smart. And so, my whole thing when I go in for an MRI is no matter what news I get, I'm going to accept it with joy. And they couldn't understand that. And they asked her, they go, how is that possible that you can accept any result, like especially a bad one, with joy? And Tracy said, and I'll never forget it, she said, no, you don't understand. Joy isn't the lack of fear and suffering. It's how you go through it. I mean, that's
wow.
No, but that's it.
Yeah.
But that's life. Yeah. Life is going to be met with fear and suffering. But the joy is how you go through it. And you don't allow things to destroy you or undermine your, every day's existence. You got to find a way to rise up and rise above your circumstances and accept the fact that today's a day. There's breath in our lungs, there's love in our hearts, there's thoughts in our minds. And that's a day, right? That's a day to be appreciated, and that's a day to live, and that's a day to enjoy. And that's a day that we can, we can use to serve others that really need that, and so, in this season, I mean, now, like what can we do to help people kind of understand where they are and figure out either how to rise above it or leverage that in order to reach, some goals that maybe they never even thought to dream.
That's the beauty of the power of encouragement, because it's limitless, and it takes so little to literally encourage someone to find the joy to get through it. It's a phone call, it's a phrase, it's a text, it's you got this, I got your back. You can do this. Yeah. Go ahead.
There's a guy, I was having breakfast the other day, and I was getting ready to pay my bill, and a guy came up and he goes, Scott? And I go, yeah. And he goes, oh, he introduced himself. And he just goes, I try to do a lot of stuff in the Nashville community. He goes, thank you for the things you do in our community. It's like, it's not enough, but I'm working on it. And he goes, I'm going to buy your breakfast. And I go, oh no, you don't need to do that. Really, you don't need to do that. And he goes, hey, don't steal my blessing.
Let me do this good thing for you. Don't steal my blessing.
It was like, as he was blessing me, he himself was being blessed. And it was like,
he was being right. That's it. You're being blessed. When you bless others, you are being blessed. When you encourage others, you're encouraging yourself to go do the next great thing. Or the next little thing.
We are all in this together.
I mean, this is not rocket science, people. That's what it's like, we're all here on this planet. We all have a right to be here. We all deserve to be treated as humans, level playing field, full stop. What is so freaking difficult about that concept? I mean, I understand, all the history and everything, but I mean, come on. Come on.
I had a friend, and I adore this man, and we were all playing golf one day. I'll never forget it because I haven't laughed that hard in so long. And he just said, he said to my friend, he goes, I'd rather be ignorant than stupid. And my friend looked at me and goes, spell ignorant. He goes, okay, now slow down here. And I could get it to spell check, but don't get me into that. And it's like, until we're able to kind of take a step back and maybe try to understand what walking in somebody else's shoes is like. And, it's like, it's really hard to be compassionate. It's really hard to be of service. It's really hard to understand, and we have so much. I mean, the world is, it's a tough place, and that's why I really lean into my faith more now than I ever did before. And the more you do that, the more you find things. And I read, the Bible daily, and it's really been an encouragement. When I went to Israel with my son it was right when the lockdowns were happening and everything. And we thought we were going to be stranded there, which would have been a horrible thing. But, we were going in, and part of it is, there's a room where this guy can make use of like a little piece of jewelry or trinket to take home, from your time there. And I thought, I want to get something for my wife who sacrificed her trip to stay home with the other kids. And so I went in and he goes, do you want anything? I go, yeah, I kind of do. And he goes, well, most men get rings. And I said, okay, I'll get a ring. I don't really wear them that much, but I'll get a ring. And he said, what would you like on it? Some scripture. And I said, yes. And he goes, what? And I go, John 16:33. It just came on me like, I don't know. I'm not a big, I remember it, but it's not like spouting it out. And John 16:33 says, Jesus says to his disciples, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. And that was the ring I got made. And it was so appropriate for that time, not only in my own life, but in history, that, how are we going to rise up above this stuff? Well, we're going to rise up above it with service to others, with honesty, with integrity, with understanding that we are in community and that we need to support each other, not rip each other apart. I almost thought that, when I came home, I told my wife, this thing is kind of fundamentally evil because it's robbing us of everything we are and what we need in order to be productive in our lives and to be enjoying our lives. We're separated from our friends. We're separated from our livelihoods. We're separated from any financial security. We're separated from everything has been pulled away from us for a common goal, where the common goal line kept getting pushed to where there was no end to any of it. Right. And now there's this whole other thing. So we just gotta, we gotta be smart. We've got to respect each other's desires and what we want to do, but we also have to be really smart and do our homework, as far as what are the best next steps. And none of it feels like it's, wow, it just happened this just happened, or, none of it feels that way to me. And again, for our world to be in this medical crisis at the same time that we're getting into all of these divisive things, it just feels so contrived, for lack of a better word. And I think right now as individuals, we need to embrace each other like we've never embraced each other before, and love like we've never loved before. And it all starts with that. It just, love conquers all ills, no matter what we're going through. If we lead with love, and everything comes from it, hope and respect and just compassion, and that's where we need to be as a culture and as a society. And all of those types of things have been almost an attempt to squish them with other things that are divisive and hateful and meant to sow discord. And no, I'm not falling for it. I'm not going to fall for it. And the people that are in a position to fix it need to be held accountable, because they're using catastrophe to empower their positions, and it's wrong. It's wrong. And so I've been doing CARES. I'll just say this. I've been doing CARES for 21 years. I've been trying to make a difference in the world of cancer, and I've not accepted one penny to do it. Not one. That, to me, that's leadership. To me, if you're going to solve a problem, make sure that every single person that's there to support you, their money does the best work it can possibly do. And I don't see that with all charities. I'll just leave it at that.
Mhm. So many powerful messages that you are leaving us with, Scott. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for having had this conversation with you.
Oh, thank you.
You are one extraordinary human being, and again, I think your family is so blessed to have you leading them, especially your children, you and Tracy together, leading your children through this tumultuous time and providing them a sense of identity and most important, a sense of hope, because we all need that. And you're showing them how to lead with love just by being the man that you are. And I just thank you. I just thank you so very much. And I wish you the best with your new Encourage X collection.
Oh, that'd be fun. I'm excited.
With CARES, and CARES will continue to do the amazing work that it's doing in the cancer community. And please consider me a friend and a resource. Always. And anything I can do to help you, I am there. I am so there. So thank you.
You're the best. I so appreciate you and your platform and how are you using your time and talents to serve the community. I really, really appreciate that. It's been an honor to be a part of your world just for this hour. And I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. This little girl who used to figure skate at 4 years old is just jumping up and down inside right now. I just got to
present. I always tell my skaters, if you don't sell it, nobody can buy it, right?
No, that's right. That's right. Okay. Thank you so much, Scott. You take care. Boy, I enjoyed that, as I'm sure you could tell. I hope you did as well. Scott's Encourage X collection launches on May 15th. You can find it at encouragex.com. And of course, we'll link to that in the show notes and all of the incredible things that Scott is doing, including his wonderful CARES Foundation. If you like what we're doing here on Our Voices Matter podcast, please subscribe to us and like and share away. Thanks again for giving Scott permission to speak and for having the courage to listen with an open mind. We look forward to seeing you next time.